How you entrepreneurs? Today we have a fun one. We have Kayleigh Christina Clark. She is a woman with many hats. She is a holistic nutritionist and health coach, yoga instructor. She's the co-founder of the Anti-Acne and anti-aging skincare called CLEARstem. And she does Balancing Your Hustle podcast. Also wrote two books. So if you feel that you might not doing enough with your daily routine, you might be right after you listen to this podcast. You're going to hear her journey from being a little unhealthy with stress and kind of jumping to all these different platforms. So please tell your friends, please subscribe, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Welcome to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with real estate agent Vinny SD.
All right, so we are here with Kayleigh Christina Clark. Now, I'm going to read you a laundry list. She's a busy woman, all right? She is a holistic nutritionist and a health coach. I know you didn't say it, but a yoga instructor. Mm-hmm. You are also the co-founder of CLEARstem. Also, you do a podcast, Balancing Your Hustle podcast. Plus, she's a model. And she's written 2 books. Now, don't you feel like you're not doing enough with your daily routine?
It's funny when you say it actually out loud, it sounds like a lot, but to me it's been like progression of life. But then you read it, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do all that.
Was it an easy transition from the first one to the next one to the next one to the next one? Is that kind of how it worked out?
Everything kind of just built on top of each other. I went through a really long health journey and discovery. I went from like my body kind of going haywire and failing on me, which led me to become so passionate about health and wellness. Yeah. And when I was doing so much of my own research, it led me to want to go back and get my degree in it to kind of have more of like a science-backed degree with everything I was learning myself. Yeah. And so that was kind of the beginning of it. Yeah. And then everything's really just has built upon my exploration within the health and wellness industry.
So walk us from the start. So how did you get started? What was the flow of getting to where we are now?
Yeah. So I worked first job out of college. I worked in actually professional sports. I was working like 60 to 80 hour weeks. I was loving it in the beginning, but I was completely burning myself out and I was losing passion for what I was actually doing because, you know, you can work 60 to 80 hour weeks and love what you're doing. Like I do that now and I don't feel burnt out, but it's different when you're kind of in a line of work that you're not passionate about and you're working those extensive hours. And I just did not have a work-life balance. It was all work all the time, nothing else. It was like the longest period of time I'd ever gone without working out. I was eating out all the time, just having lunch delivered to work, didn't really have time to make dinners, anything like that. So
I feel your pain. Yeah. I was I've told this story, I think, a couple times on the podcast, but when I came back and got into real estate, I was in good shape. Mm-hmm. And when I got into real estate, it took me the catalyst. I got up to like 265 pounds. And it was like, I went to the doctors and I was on the checking my weight, and they told me what it was, and I was like, I think that's incorrect. So you don't realize
your scale's wrong.
Yeah, I think your scale's wrong. And so finally I figured it out. And then I got into like a whole health thing last 2 years, getting back into it. But sometimes you don't realize it when you're in the grind of everything.
Yeah, I wasn't realizing it at all. And the funny thing is I was in and out of the hospital during this time. Like I had, at one point I was in the hospital for stomach ulcers because I was having these like crazy stomach pains. And then I had a slip disc in my back. And then just like other things were going wrong that I was in and out of the hospital but I didn't realize it was so linked to like my stress, my lack of movement, my eating, and my complete burnout mentally. Yeah. I was just like, I guess I'm just getting sick a lot. Wow. And so I left that job and I moved out to San Diego. My husband got a job out here, and I was at the point of wanting to leave my job anyways and kind of use this as a really good excuse to start fresh out here and do something different. So I moved out here and I did get another corporate job. I traveled a lot for and loved it. But my body just was failing me. Like I ended up, instead of gaining a lot of weight, my body dropped tons of weight, but without me changing anything. And it was really scary because, I was eating the same way and exercising the same way. And my body was just freaking out. I was losing weight. I broke out in complete cystic acne, like all over my face. Every time I ate something, I got sick. And So I really couldn't figure out what was going on, and ended up going like over the course of months and months and months, going to all different doctors. And finally I found a naturopathic doctor, because all the other doctors I had gone to just wanted to prescribe me a lot of different medication just to try things out. There was no like, oh, we know what it is and this will help it. It was like, well, try this, try that. And I wasn't okay with that. I was like, but what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So finally I found a naturopathic doctor. Come to find out, I do have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disease that is triggered by gluten and other products as well. So, but with that, kind of the rest of my body, it was like, it's like a snowball effect in your body. Like once one thing is wrong, like everything starts going haywire.
Yeah.
So it basically, this whole entire thing led me onto my own health and wellness, like exploration. I started diving in to research about the effects of, you know, what you're putting in your body is directly affecting how you look, how you feel, how your mind functions, how much energy you have every day. And so I started putting this huge link between you know, food and what you're putting in your body, and directly correlated to how you look and feel every single day. And even how your mood is, like if you're feeling really depressed or really energetic and happy and everything. So that led me to go back to school. I wanted to get my degree in nutrition, and I wanted to help other people, because when I was going through this, I had a lot of friends and family reach out and kind of share their own story of maybe what they were going through at that time health-wise, and asking if I had advice or could help. And so that was a big thing. I wanted a degree to back up what I was doing, and even though I was doing so much research, I wanted just the degree to back everything up, what I was saying. And so I went back to school and got that. And so I felt like I had everything with like food locked down, like, you know, understanding the correlation between everything. But what a lot of people don't know is also what you're putting on your skin is getting absorbed into your bloodstream and also having an effect on how you look and feel and how your mood is. It's just a different, instead of eating it, you're absorbing it through your skin, but it's still going through your bloodstream. And so I met my business partner, Danielle Gronick. She owns San Diego Acne Clinic in La Jolla. And her background is really strong in the biochem, product development, and genetics. And with my background in nutrition and wellness, and I'm very passionate about using non-toxic products. And together, we decided to start a skincare line, because so many women and men are using products that they're putting it on their skin. And actually, there's a lot of products that have different hormones in them, like either estrogen. Like estrogen's mainly the main one, but it's even affecting men. Like men are using products that they don't know have estrogen in it, and you guys don't want extra estrogen. Us as women, we have enough. Like we don't want more of it. And so we wanted to create a line that was really helping people's skin, people who are struggling with acne, people who also want to be on top of the aging process of their skin, but not have any of the toxic chemicals in it, not having any of the hormone disruptors in it, something that was truly clean, that was actually delivering results for people's skin.
So to rewind, I know that was a lot of information right there, but a lot of positive information. So college, what was the college you first went to? I
went to High Point University. It's in North Carolina.
Okay, so you graduated what degree?
I graduated in sports management and marketing.
Okay, sports management marketing. Mm-hmm. And then what was the professional sport aspect that you were a part of?
So I worked for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
I worked in their sales department. So
was that pre, post, LeBron?
It was in between. It was in a couple years that LeBron wasn't there. In between him being there, leaving, then being there.
So do you think you would have enjoyed it more if he was actually there?
If I would. So when I left, LeBron came on like a couple months later, like maybe 6 or 7 months later.
Was there any correlation for you leaving for him actually coming?
No.
No?
No, it would have been an adventure if I was still there, but they actually had to completely redo the entire sales department and turn it more into a servicing department than sales.
Oh.
Because, I mean, they sold out a season ticket. So, like, what do you need a bunch of, like, inside sales and business development people for that are, like, hardcore going after sales? Yeah. They needed a bunch of servicing people. So they completely restructured
was that
it.
One of the reasons? I know you're just slammed with basically working so many hours, but was that helping you get out the door?
That
job?
Oh, the restructure? No, because I didn't know LeBron was coming at the time. To be honest, you know how just any company can be led by different people with different attitudes, and it was very a not work-life balance attitude whatsoever at that time. And it was extremely stressful. It's changed a lot because I still have friends that work over there, and the culture got a lot better, but I was just there during a time where the culture just wasn't.
Do you ever kick yourself if maybe you're like, I could have stayed there a couple more months?
You know, it would have been a fun adventure, that's for sure. Like there's such a difference between like working for a losing team versus a winning team, just like the morale in the office and just like the nationwide buzz for sure. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like just the nationwide buzz around a team. Yeah. So like it definitely, I mean, we were already in San Diego by that time, so that was fine. I'm sure if I had left the job and was still living in Cleveland when LeBron came back, I would have like been kicking myself for sure. But yeah, it definitely would have been something really cool to be a part of.
Question before we get to the San Diego aspect of it. Who's better, LeBron or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan's classic. Like, it'll be like, I feel like easier to compare after LeBron retires. Okay. Michael Jordan is just, he's classic. There's so much history to him. There was so much transformation happening when he was playing. I think he paved the road for so many other players and was such an iconic person to look up to and such an example for young athletes to look up to. I think he's the one that really paved the way. Based
off of that answer, you might need another hat to go into politics. That was very political. Your response.
Am I good at the PC answers?
All right,
but I love like LeBron's a beast. So like I love watching LeBron. Like he's a beast. He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be curious how Zion does compared to. Well, anyways,
yeah.
Okay.
I love the NBA. So.
All right, so you moved to San Diego. Now, this had to be a big decision. How long were you married at that time?
We weren't married. We had only been dating like not almost a year.
Wow.
At this time. So I had always wanted to move to San Diego.
Okay.
I had visited a couple times in college. It was on like my 5-year plan after graduation that I wanted to make it out here. I always felt, every time I visited here, I felt home.
Yeah.
More home than like Pittsburgh had ever felt growing up, where I grew up. And so when the opportunity came up for my husband, it was my boyfriend at the time, but it wasn't even a question. Oh. Like we both were like, yep, we're going. That's
a big decision to even after a year of knowing each other.
I know,
dating each other, I guess.
I mean, like when you say it out loud in the timeline, it's like, wow, that was fast. But at the time, like it just made sense.
So you guys come to San Diego. Mm-hmm. He has a job opportunity, and at your new position here, when you moved to San Diego, you started putting on weight. Was there so you said over there you're stressed out, right? And you were gaining.
I was like actually losing weight because like stress can do that
in
too.
Cleveland.
It started when we moved out here. In Cleveland, I was like in and out of the hospital all the time.
So it was more of the health, internal kind of stuff. And then here you started actually losing weight. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you saw the holistic doctor.
Yeah.
And have you done anything in the holistic field before you saw that doctor, or what happened there? How did you get swayed into that?
That was new to me. I mean, I grew up with Western medicine. I grew up when you get sick, you go to the primary care doctor, you figure out what's going on. So I did not grow up with naturopathic medicine in the least bit. It was actually when I had gone to like 6 or 7 different doctors and no one could figure out what was going on, like why I was dropping so much weight, why like my skin was so inflamed and I was in so much pain, why everything I ate was making me sick. Like no one had an answer. And it was a friend from college that, she had, I guess, had some issues after college health-wise. And she was like, I found a naturopathic doctor, and it was the first person that I felt like listened to me, like sat there for 45 minutes and discussed kind of like all of life's health issues like leading up to this point, and like the first person to give me answers. And so I figured I'd give it a try. I was like, it can't hurt, like I've already seen so many other specialists and people, like I might as well try this out.
So were you I guess not scared, but also kind of uncertain of the idea of seeing something that's so drastic from what you were raised by? Or is it just kind of out of like necessity, you kind of just had to just
it was kind of out of necessity because I mean at this point I was exhausted. I was so exhausted of going so many different places and not having any answers that this was just like one more tool in tool belt. I was like one more person to see, and just we'll see how this one goes.
So that friend that told you to go to the holistic doctor,
Yeah.
Does she get a residual of all your new stuff now?
So she actually lives in Maryland, which is funny because like I had to search for someone out here in San Diego, but she actually does buy CLEARstem. She loves CLEARstem. I've sent her bottles before. She's like, I have to give it to her because she's the one that I didn't even know what a naturopathic doctor was. Like I'm from the East Coast. Like no one I grew up with ever talked about that before.
So the doctor, they do a miracle on you. And now you decide to go back to school. What school did you go to here?
I went to, it was an online program. It was called the Integrative School of Nutrition. And it's based out of New York City, but they do have online programs for people all across the U.S.
And so how did you, doing online, how did you come across your current partner?
So I started healing internally. I started like gaining my weight back. I started being able to like eat certain foods again. So I was starting to genuinely feel better, but my skin was still a mess. Like it was bright red, so painful, like cystic acne. Like it was not your normal like breaking out. It's like, you know how some people eat something and they're allergic, they break out in hives. Like the same thing can happen with like cystic acne. It's just like another reaction your body is having along with like hives or rashes. Like it's one of those. And so it was clear that my body was like reacting really negatively to something still. And so it was starting to get a tiny bit better, but it was still pretty rough. So I was like visiting all different dermatologists and estheticians, and nothing was really changing. The dermatologist wanted to put me on Accutane. I really didn't want to do that. That can really wreck your body. It's gnarly. So I was trying to avoid that at all costs. And it was funny because my now business partner, she was kind of my last resort. I had found this place called San Diego Acne Clinic, and I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I'm dealing with right now. It's not like a general facial place. Like she had a niche. And the very first time I met with her, she had me bring in every hair product, makeup product, and skin product that I used, and we went through the ingredients of everything. Which is funny because that's what I private coach nutrition clients for a little bit. I don't currently, but I did for a couple years. And that's exactly what I would do when I was addressing like food with them. I would like teach them how to read an ingredient deck and what to look for and what to try to avoid, or like what does this ingredient really mean. And so I was so well versed on the food side. But when it came to skincare, there's a lot of different words on there. It's just so different than food, because there are even some chemicals that are on skincare that are fine for you because you have to use like the chemical scientific name for something. So it might even be like a natural ingredient, but it looks like a chemical name because you have to use the long form. And so I didn't even know what half the things on the back of a bottle meant. I just, you're kind of ingrained in your habits, in your daily habits. So she addressed everything with me and started, number one, there was actually some gluten, which I'm like, my autoimmune disease is triggered by gluten. There's actually gluten in a lot of different skin and hair products. Oh, wow. So like that was getting absorbed in my bloodstream still through these products. There was also a lot of products I was using that had like hormone disruptors that were clogging my pores, that were causing more irritation to my skin. And I didn't know this at all. And so she was really my saving grace, and I learned under her to learn even more about like the skin science. So
CLEARstem now is all natural, it's good for anyone and all the different stuff that people might carry. Yeah,
exactly. So like it is amazing for acne, but we do have a lot of people that don't really deal with breakouts, but they want to like really even out their skin tone, brighten their skin, reduce the signs of aging, and it's incredible for that too. But people who are dealing with breakouts, it really helps to target the hormones that lay in the oils of your pores and all different things. So we have a lot of antibacterial properties to it too.
So what was the transition? Okay, so you start CLEARstem.
Yeah, so Danielle had started working with a chemist and was like starting developments on it. And then I jumped on board because my background was a little more like business, marketing, as well as like the nutrition side, when hers was extremely like science-based and product development based. So we both kind of realized like we had very unique skill sets coming into a partnership together.
And so you guys start the partnership together. You're building CLEARstem. Now, where do all these other hats come from? How does the flow? Walk us through the flow, everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had gotten my nutrition degree and I was private coaching clients as well as just like being there for family and friends and helping out, I realized that it was becoming kind of a full-time job for like even the people that weren't paying me, like friends and family, they would want like recipes and advice and tips and like, what do I do in this situation? Or I'm traveling all the time. How do I eat? How do I pick healthy things to eat at a restaurant? What do I make at home that I'm not slaving in the kitchen for 2 hours, but I can still make like a really healthy meal? And so I felt like I was constantly like getting on the phone with people, answering text messages, answering emails. I was like, I need to put this all in one place. So I decided to start a website. I started a blog where I was just posting recipes. I was posting tips for traveling, tips for eating out at restaurants. That way I could just reach a little bit more people and get the information out there instead of like saving it to the notes section of my phone and just sending it to people. And so through my blog, I was writing a lot of different articles, and I had people ask, they wanted like a meal plan. And so I created like a 5-day cleanse. It's a whole foods cleanse, which means like not a juice cleanse, like you're actually eating real like whole foods for all 5 days of the cleanse. But it's teaching your body like what to make for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks where you're going to feel energized, you're going to sleep well. It's going to reduce any like bloating or just like icky feelings. Because cleansing your body doesn't mean like you have to fast, you have to just drink water, you have to just drink juice. It just means like, because your body naturally cleanses itself every day as long as you're eating healthy. So it's just, it's learning the right things to eat so your body can naturally do it for itself. So I launched that book so I could send to people because people wanted 5 to 7 days worth of healthy eating meal plans anyway. So it was kind of just one place where I could put everything. And then I actually partnered with my friend Christina. She owns Christina Rice Wellness. And basically, like around the holidays, people were struggling a lot. And they were like, I'm trying to eat really healthy, but then I'm around my family around Thanksgiving or Christmas, and I feel really pressured to eat a certain way, or I feel guilted, or people make fun of me because I don't want to eat this, and I feel really overwhelmed, or how can I just make a healthy version of all of my favorite, like I want to enjoy Thanksgiving. I want like all the things. I want the green bean casserole, the sweet potato casserole, but I just want it in a healthier way that I can just feel good. And so we partnered up together to create our Paleo Thanksgiving recipe guide. So we have basically all of your favorite Thanksgiving and holiday recipes, but just made paleo. So gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free. And they're phenomenal recipes. But within that guide, we also have tips of like how to talk to your family if like, you are feeling really guilted, or like how to describe like the way you're eating. Because we notice a lot of people like were like friends and family would be like, why are you eating like that? And, make them feel really guilty. So we try to just address some things to have people just feel more confident about the way they wanted to eat.
So we have 3 down. Mm-hmm. We have CLEARstem, we have the blog, and then we got the 2 books. Yeah. Now we have, so when did yoga and when did the modeling and when did the podcast come into play?
Yeah. So I've done yoga since I was 12 years old. I grew up with divorced parents, and I was a very stressed out teenager, to say the least, always going back and forth. And there was a lot of stress in my family growing up. And so my stepmom took me to my first yoga class when I was 12 years old. And I continued to do it all through high school, all through college, and after. And so in college, I decided to get my yoga instructor certification. Just because like I'd already done it so much and I really enjoyed it, and I just again wanted kind of the certification to back things up. So I don't teach in a studio, but I'll teach event style yoga classes. So when there's like big events in the San Diego area and things like that, I'll teach some different classes. But yoga is just a huge passion of mine. It's always been something that I've come back to my entire life, is kind of a grounding place for me.
And so then you got to the blogging. I mean, you got into the podcast.
Yeah.
Because just trying to tell more of be healthy and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So we launched the podcast, Balancing Your Hustle, about 1.5 years ago now. Okay. And my co-host, Helen, she'd had a podcast before, but wasn't consistent about it. And so she'd reached out and she was like, I'm not sure if this is something you want to do, but I've been really wanting to get back into podcasting. I want to be really consistent about it. I really want to make a difference. Would you want to do it? And it was funny because at the time I was like, do I really want to add one thing more to my plate? And I told her, I was like, can I take a day or so to think about this? And podcasting is now my favorite form of media, because you can just sit here, you can talk, you can get more information across. personally, I love listening to podcasts because I can be like driving or running or walking or hiking, or even when I work out and listen to podcasts all the time. And it's a great way to really connect with people and be able to share more. And it's like one of my favorite times of the week is when I get to sit down and podcast. So
every time I get to sit down and have interviews like this, I feel like I learn something about myself and also kind of kick myself. I'm like, I'm not hustling enough. I'm not putting enough time into this. And so you hear these stories and it's fantastic.
Yeah. So the podcasting is so much fun. It's my favorite.
So you've accumulated a lot of stuff and everything seems to have some sort of synergy with it. What kind of hurdles, and I know like going into one field and then not finding that's the right field, dealing with health stuff, I know those kind of hurdles. What are some of like the big hurdles that you'd probably look back and say, wow, that could have made a difference if I just gave up at that time?
Yeah, I think my first biggest hurdle is when, I'd gone to college for sports management. All of my internships in college were all sports related. Graduated, got a job with the Cleveland Cavaliers, like professional sports, working in the NBA, pre-LeBron, working in the NBA. And like, on the outside, it was such a cool job. Like say I worked in sports and, anytime I went somewhere, like people were so interested in hearing about it. Like my grandparents would brag about it. And so like cause it's just it's a sexy job, you know? And so when I decided to leave, and I didn't really tell anyone when I decided to leave because there was 2 months where I like didn't have a job. I coached gymnastics because I grew up doing gymnastics and it's something I could always fall back on. I didn't tell anyone that I left the job. I was so embarrassed that I was like a year out of college and had spent, in my mind, like so long having everything directed towards sports and working in sports. And I'd finally made it working in professional sports, and I left. And
what gave you the ability to leave? Because that's a big burden. You spent a lot of time in college, you got the job, but you're getting so stressed out. What was it your boyfriend at the time? What was the situation that helped you?
I was miserable. I did have a little bit of the stability. I had like a little bit of money saved, and like my boyfriend at the time, like we were living together. So like I didn't really have to stress about rent because he was like, we don't have to like split it in half. Like until you get it figured out. And I'm the kind of person that always likes to be busy and always have a job. So I knew I wasn't going to like sit on the couch and not have a job. Like literally the next day, I like went to a gymnastics studio and I was like, do you guys need someone? So it wasn't that I didn't want to work. I was so burnt out. I was like,
people stay in like in bad marriages, bad relationships all the time, and they just do it because it's consistent. So was there anything that was like that gave you that push to say, I'm quitting this job because I need to find out my true passion? Was there anything that you can?
I mentally couldn't take it any longer. Like I was just so. I am a naturally like happy person, and so I can really, but I've gone through my ups and downs, and so I can really tell when I'm like not myself anymore, when I'm feeling like just more down, and I don't like myself when I feel like that. And it's because I'm like, this isn't me. Like where am I? And so I felt like I had lost like all of my passions in life because everything was dedicated to a job that I didn't like doing anymore. So I left. It was like right after Christmas. I left, and I was so embarrassed. I didn't tell even my best friend who also worked in sports. She ended up like finding out through somebody else, and she was like my best friend. And I didn't tell her, and she called me and she's like, why didn't you tell me you don't work for the Cavs anymore? Like she was like not happy with me, and I felt like a failure at that point because I was like, what the heck am I gonna do? Like all of my passions have always laid in sports, and now like I'm so burnt out that I don't want to work in sports at all. Like I don't even want to work for another team. Like I just.
So you overcome that hurdle right there. You kind of make the big decision to leave it. You come to San Diego. Yeah. Starting a company, starting all these businesses. Has there been hurdles that you've had to deal with here?
Oh yeah. So CLEARstem has been the biggest growth experience of my entire life. Actually starting a company from the ground up, they say the startup life is hard, and which is why there's a huge percentage of startups that fail, and I see why, because it takes so much mental strength I didn't even know that I had. Like I used to be the type of person that would get very flustered and upset easily over things, and now I feel like our warehouse could blow up and I'd be like, we'll figure it out. Like it's because things go wrong every single day in a startup. Like literally, okay, so just this past week, we went through a brand new relaunch recently. So we've had CLEARstem we've been working on it for about 2.5 years, but launched a year and a half ago. We just did like a rebrand launch last week because we came out with brand new website that we've been working on for like over 6 months, like completely redesigning and just having so much like educational information and knowledge on it. We really want our website to be like a resource. Like it's like, of course there's our shop page on it, but that's not even close to like the value that's on our website. Brand new packaging, a new brand look, new names to our product, and 3 new products. Wow. And so it's been we've been doing all this for about a year, like all this new stuff. And so even just last week, so we had our like fulfillment center filling up all of our bottles for us, right? Like they're labeling everything, they're filling up the product in the bottles, and our 2 face washes are like 6-ounce bottles. So they're like, I don't know, I'm podcasting, I'm like showing how big it is, but it's a 6-ounce bottle, like what you'd picture like a face wash bottle. And we get them, so we have like some sent to our warehouse because, by the way, for the last year and a half, I've been individually shipping out every single website order. So finally we have a warehouse that'll be doing that for us. So we had some sent to our warehouse. We also sell on Amazon. So we had like boxes of our products sent to the Amazon warehouses. So that's how you get Prime. And then we had some sent to us, like, you know, for us to use, for us to gift, and just for us to have on hand. So we don't have to request it from our warehouse. So I pull out the bottles and look, and there's like a huge empty space at the top of the bottle that doesn't have any product. And like face wash, it's kind of an opaque bottle, so you can see the color of the face wash. And it should be filled with like, I don't know, maybe like a half an inch gap from the top cap, but there is like 3 inches. It's like it's like below where the label starts. And Danielle and I were like, what is this? Like, it looks empty at the top. Like if you were to order something online and receive that, you would look at it and be like, why is this bottle a quarter of the amount empty? Yeah. And we are like, what the heck? So we're like trying to get on the phone with our fulfillment center. She's on a plane flight. We're like sending her pictures. We're like, what happened? Like, what went wrong? So basically what we learned, and no one had ever told us this, and there's no way we would have ever known until I guess either the mistake was made or the person we've been working with at the fulfillment center, she didn't know this either. This had never happened. But basically there's 2 different ways to fill a bottle. There's a cosmetic fill and then a like full fill. And you have to pick one. And we never knew that. Like, how would we, if we were never told, like, hey, you have to pick what style of fill you want, we don't know to ask that question or say that. And I guess we got filled a cosmetic fill. So now we have to pay to get all of our boxes back from Amazon, pull it, and we're going to have to individually top and fill up all, like, a couple thousand bottles. So like that was just last week, and that was on my birthday last week. Like great, like that's what we dealt with all day. So like it's something all the time. Like
if you could look at your younger self, the one that was going to college the first time, or maybe someone else looking to get in the holistic industry, what kind of advice would you give?
Let your own journey dictate what you do. Looking back on my life, there's so many things I did because I thought it was the right fit or it like looked cool to do, and I was always trying to force a job that just like felt like the cool thing or like, oh, that sounds fun. But really, if you let your own, it's like the more you get to know yourself, the more you realize what you're actually good at rather than like what you think you're good at. It's sometimes like if you put on a shirt and like you think it doesn't look that great on you, but you get like 1 million compliments that day. It's like you don't see it. It's like it's kind of the same thing with like your qualities. It's sometimes you need other people to like even tell you what your qualities are because you don't like. It's just so masked like what you're actually thinking, and you're not seeing it the same way. And so, like I wouldn't be where I was if I didn't work in the sports world and get so stressed out and have a bunch of health issues and things go wrong. Like I would never be where I am right now. And so kind of just letting the ups and downs in life dictate where it takes you, but then take advantage of it.
Yeah. You can't know the good without the bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you have every single day is good, you're just gonna be like, oh, this is my norm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not very fun. Like it's funny that like the hurdles are actually like, I love when things go wrong right now. I know it sounds weird, but like
it's a powerful way to look at stuff.
Every single time something goes wrong, I learn so much more, and I'm not going to make that mistake. And I'm probably not going to make 5 others that are like kind of linked to that, because now I know like more questions to ask or things to do differently. And so it's actually exciting when things go wrong, because that's where I feel like the biggest growth through everything has happened.
One of my football coaches told me once, he was like, everyone makes mistakes, but it's when you make the second and third mistake, the same thing, that's when we have a problem.
Yeah.
So if you learn from it, there's nothing wrong with it. We all fail. It's just a matter of learning from it and don't do it again.
Yeah,
just
make mistakes
better.
all the time.
Exactly.
It's just don't make them again, like the same exact one.
Exactly. So what's next for all your businesses? You got the podcast, the coaching, and the CLEARstem, all that kind of stuff. What's next?
So for our podcast, I mean, we're having so much fun. We come out with a new podcast every single Monday, so we're always just looking to bring new people on and
Balancing Your Hustle
Balancing
podcast.
Your Hustle, yeah. So that is just like, that is such a fun passion project. As far as CLEARstem, I mean, we are in the midst of like a brand new relaunch right now. And so things are kind of new and different every day. And so we're going to, we're signing on a PR company soon. We just started Facebook ads, which is so new to us. So a lot of more learning when it comes to Facebook ads. We're diving into like getting to really know the analytics of like e-commerce sales, because that's so different than like retail sales or face-to-face sales or B2B sales. And we're like straight B2C, but also like through e-commerce. And so it just kind of like, it's just a huge learning experience right now. Like every single day I'm just learning new things and just trying to figure out how to refine what we do and how to be able to talk to our consumer and reach our consumer. And so that's basically been my life and like where it's going to continue to go definitely in the next couple months.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Kayleigh, to tell us a little about basically your journey. You actually learned on the job to become this health, I guess, guru, how you want to call
Thank
it.
you.
So hopefully all you entrepreneurs really got some good information about here. Learn from who you are. You might make a mistake. It might not be a true mistake, but your journey is going to help you get to where you need to get to if you're willing to listen to it. Thanks again, Kayleigh.
Thank you so much, Vinny.
Balancing Your Hustle podcast, subscribe to that, and check out CLEARstem.com.
Yeah, CLEARstemskincare.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Kayleigh.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to The Road to Growth, Success of an Entrepreneur. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected. Visit www.vinnySD.com.
Yeah, I created a website.
Hope to see you again next week. Team Vinny SD, signing off.